It's 94.3 WYBC. I'm Darryl Huckaby from DeDe In The Morning, and you are listening to The Electric Drum, our weekly community affairs show. And I'm excited to have a voice that you hear actually every morning, Monday through Friday. I talk to and you all listen to. Her name is DeDe McGuire. That's her government, but known as DeDe In The Morning. How you doing?
Doing well, doing all right. We're surviving COVID. We're coming out of it, the pandemic.
It's been a long year.
Hasn't it?
Yeah. So I wanted to get you on and have a conversation with you to give our listeners a chance to get to know DeDe, the person, versus the personality that they hear Monday through Friday, actually Saturday because of the weekend show. But, you know, here in Connecticut, everybody loves you, you know, the personality, the humor, the information that you give in the morning. But I want to sit down and, you know, as you say in one of your commercials, you know, who are you and where are you from?
Right.
I want to get in your business right now.
Okay. And that's rare. Nobody gets in my business much anymore. No.
I know.
Okay.
So let's talk about the last year and what COVID has, you know, done to us and how it's changed our lives, both personally and in terms of radio.
That's a lot. I will just tell you this, that for me, you know what COVID really has done for me? It made me recognize what's important and who's important. Now, that is one thing I have figured out. And all the other things, you know, it was so funny because there were times when friends would ask me to come out or go do something with them. And I said, I have to figure out now if this moment with you is going to be worth me possibly catching COVID, possibly getting hospitalized, possibly paying that hospital bill, right? That one moment with a friend, I had to think about, is it worth it? Right?
Possibly dying.
Yes, all of the above, right? So you think to yourself, so it started to put a lot of things in perspective. It also made you miss close friendships, but you also knew that there were those that I cultivated even with FaceTime, which was great. I love FaceTime. I got into FaceTime. Technology was better. You know, I started learning a little bit more about that. Still got to do my podcast.
I know I've gotten to appreciate the little things in life a lot more. You know, the things that you kind of, you know, we take for granted things when they're normal, you know, when we're living a great life, which obviously we are as personalities and public figures. But it shifted us in a way that we had to focus on some things that we just kind of overlooked, just to, you know, breathing every day, waking up every day, you know, not having to be in the hospital on a ventilator in some cases. So, you know, how has it changed the radio show?
Well, one of the things is we're still working from home, and for me, it's changed us because I don't get to put as many bells and whistles into the show that I like. I don't have as much control as I like in terms of those type of things and when to play this and to grab that, because there are times when people are listening to us on the air and I'll have an idea in the middle of the conversation and I'll say to Jade, keep going. And then I'll go over there and look for some different sound effects, or I'll say something to our engineer, grab me this, you know, write him a note. So I don't get to do that as much. I think that's how it's changed us. And I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I think that the audience got a chance to know us also a little bit better because we were all being as transparent as possible about what was going on and also giving out the information. So, yeah, I think. Okay.
So let's talk about you. Where you from? Who are you? Where you from? Where you been?
Let's see. I was born in Seattle, Washington at King County Hospital.
Okay.
I was talking to some friends about that. County hospitals, man. Hey, shouts out to them. But anyway, I was born in Seattle, youngest of 5. And my mom remarried when I was 9 years old. And we went to Germany for 3 years. So I lived in Germany for 3 years. Then we came back to the States and ended up in Killeen, Fort Hood area of Texas.
Okay.
She divorced him, married another military man who's from Waterbury, Connecticut. His whole family is in Waterbury. Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Shout out to the Hunter family. Yep. Okay. Lee Hunter, my stepfather, the greatest stepfather ever. Loved him to death. I mean, loved him. He passed away about almost 5 years ago. Oh, wow. But that's it. Just, you know, had lived in Texas. And then, you know, Darryl, we do radio. I lived all over. I lived in Chicago for 2 years doing radio. I lived in Philadelphia for 3 years. You know what I mean? Then did the national radio show with Doug Banks, did New York for 6 years with her, you know.
Okay. So before you got into radio though, where you went to high school where?
Killeen, Texas.
Okay. Did you go to college?
Yep. Well, wait, okay. Hold on. Now, kids, go to school. Listen to your auntie DeDe. Okay, here's what happened, Darryl. Go off to college, Texas Woman's University. I'm there. I get in my first semester, and my mom, all my brothers and sisters are gone from home now. I'm the youngest of 5. My mother was a teenage mom. My mother didn't go to college. So when it came time to go to college and fill out the financial aid, I had nobody at home to help me. My mom didn't know. We didn't know what we were doing, right? And so I go to college, and they kept saying, well, it's going to come in. It's going to come in. So the school gave me an emergency student loan. Well, by the time that semester ended in December, my first semester in college, they were like, ma'am, you cannot come back until you get your financial aid. Never came in. We didn't fill it out right. And they said, pay this $5,000 and you can come back to school. I was like, how? And so I ended up only spent a semester there, and then went back home to Killeen, Fort Hood, and went to our local community college while working at a radio station as the receptionist.
So that was your introduction to radio, being a receptionist?
Yep, as a receptionist. And I was going to school, working there as the receptionist, and I wanted to be a journalist, a news anchor. And somebody said at the time, my teeth looked like God had turned his head and just threw my teeth in my mouth. Like God literally looked like he turned around, like somebody interrupted him while he was creating me, and the teeth just were mangled. And they were like, well, man, we don't know if you could be a news anchor. And then they were like, and you're too silly. Everybody, well, you're too silly to be a news anchor. So while working at that radio station, I went to the local college. Next thing you know, they trained me to be on the air at this country radio station.
Wait, country?
It was country.
Wow.
Yeah, I was the receptionist, and this is how it happened. Darryl, listen to this. So I'm the receptionist, and the afternoon guy, the afternoon DJ, calls me in. They were doing a silent auction on the radio for kids at Christmas time, and they were wanting people to bid on toys, and we had to describe the toy. So he calls me in, and he tells me to describe the toy. So I'm standing there, and I'm having fun. I'm laughing with him, and I'm describing the toy, and I go back to sit in the desk, the receptionist desk, and all of a sudden the owner walks up, like about an hour later or so. And he goes, my wife just called and says, I need to train you. Heard you on the radio and says that you sounded really good with our afternoon guy and that I needed to train you.
Wow.
And they started training me at the country radio station. On my lunch break, I would go and practice in the production room. And my name was going to be Misty Morgan. That was going to be my name on the country radio station. I left because as I was training, I would go up on the weekends and train. I was so into it. I overheard a guy say, we can't put that black girl on the radio station.
What?
Mm-hmm. I'll never forget it. And I was like, he was like, dun, dun, dun. I was stunned. I was coming down the hall, overheard him. And I was like, I'm out.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we're talking to DeDe in the morning. If you don't get confused though, because it is a Sunday night.
Yeah.
I know you're used to hearing this voice in the morning, but we're getting to know DeDe during the electric drum. Mm-hmm. So from country, where'd you go from there?
So there was I'm not even going to tell you the station because people will be like, oh my gosh, she's going to age herself. But nonetheless, I will just tell you this. There was a black station that was there and hadn't been there very long. And I had made a tape on, during the lunch break and on the weekends, I made a tape and I gave it to them. And they called me in and they said, listen, we know you don't have any experience, but we like you and we're going to give you a shot. And they gave me middays and I did middays. And the program director would come in all the time and tell me I was horrible. I need to do this. I was doing this wrong. I was doing that. I had been on that station no more than 6 months. Darryl, this is a true story. I'll never forget it. I was on that station no more than 6 months, my first radio job, doing middays. And he called me in one day to the general manager's office. And when I walked in, I thought I was going to get fired. I remember calling my mom going, I think they're getting ready to fire me. I got to go to the general manager's office. And I'm sad. And I'm like, golly, I got to find another job. And when I walk in, he had the whole entire staff, sales, everybody, they just start clapping. And I looked around, I was like, what happened? What'd I do? And they said, you came in number one. Your ratings were amazing.
Wow.
And I was like, oh my God, I thought I was going to get fired. And they're all laughing and they're like, fired. I was like, yeah, this is my first job. Yeah. True story. Stayed there a year, left there and went to San Antonio for a year and then ended up in Dallas because I had a goal. This is one thing I always tell people. Let me just say this to people. I have this thing about having a goal. My mom used to tell me this. Set your goal and go for it. You always make it. And I remember getting in radio at the time. I was about 21. And I said, I'm going to make it to a major market. I'm going to make it to a top 10 market by the time I'm 25. And people said, no, you're not. You got in it too late. You should have got in radio. Because Darryl, how old were you when you got in the radio? Were you like 16 or 15 or something, 18?
No, actually, it's crazy. I got involved in high school, but I went to college for something else and didn't get back involved until midlife.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, but they say that most people get involved in radio early on, like back then, like you're in high school or something. Yeah. So everybody kept telling me there was no way I was going to make it to a major market by the time I was 25 because I got in it too late. I said, no, watch me. And I ended up getting to Dallas early, 24. I just turned 24.
Wow.
Yeah. And it was within 2.5 years of being on the radio, I got to Dallas, top 10 market. And I started in Killeen. It was like market 183.
Mm-hmm. The moral of that story, never listen to people in terms of them shutting your goals down.
Exactly. Exactly.
Stay focused and, stay true to yourself.
Yep. And it was funny because when I knew I wanted to get to Dallas, and I remember taking the San Antonio job, and it was an overnight job. And somebody said to me, well, that's not going to get you to Dallas or to a major market, top 10 market. And I said, yes, it will. Yes, it will. I was like, it's going to. And I remember that, and people didn't understand my moves, but it worked.
So midlife for me, I got my degree in accounting and started working in Washington, D.C. as an accountant. That was my first career.
Wow.
And I got back involved in radio because I moved back to Connecticut for a couple of years to help my parents with their business. And then I became a program director up here, hosted the morning show. And I, like you, but midlife, I had aspirations to work in a major market. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to go back to accounting because I was having too much fun doing radio. I was like, man, I get paid for having fun now. I love this concept. Yeah. And I was getting tired of accounting. But, one thing led to another. It's a case of being in the right place at the right time. I met the VP of programming for Radio 1 at this conference randomly. We stayed in contact, and then he ended up having a job opening in D.C., gave me the position, assistant PD, went to PD, and then VP of programming, ran a national syndicated morning show. So, yeah, it's crazy.
Darryl, that is pretty awesome, though. But you're an accountant. You're like good with numbers.
I try not to tell people that.
Wow. And wait a minute. That is so crazy. Okay, let me just say, with the running joke with us with Lady Jade on our show, her father's Jamaican, and we always talk about the fact that he tried really hard to give her a really great life, a better life than his. He makes sure that she went to tap dance, she went to college, she does this. He tried to make her play the piano, and I always say, look at you, and you ended up here with me. I was dropped out. Look at you. You're an accountant.
Yeah, crazy.
This is awesome. You don't miss it?
Accounting? Absolutely not. Especially this time of year. Taxes. I was a tax accountant at that.
Oh,
So taxes. It's I get angst. I get anxiety when I start talking about tax, even my own taxes. So I don't even do my own tax returns right now. That's how bad it is.
I'm going to tell you something. I can tell you're a college educated. You use the word angst. Hold on a second. My dog's trying to come in. Hold on 1 second. Come in, Dak. Oh, there he is. That's my dog. My dog, Dak. Nope, I'm not getting you anything. Okay.
We're talking to DeDe in the morning on a Sunday evening during the Electric Drum. We're getting to know her on a personal level outside of the morning show. Mm-hmm. So you're in radio in Dallas. Mm-hmm. How did you, and that was local radio.
It was local radio back then, yeah.
And then you transitioned somehow at some point into syndicated.
Yeah, okay. Well, that was, so when I first got started within 2.5 years being in Dallas, I was very young. Mm-hmm. I stayed in Dallas no more than 2 years. Then went to Chicago for about 2 years to work on. I got away. You know what's so crazy? I got away from black radio for 5 years. I left it. I won't say it was a horrible experience when I first got into Dallas at the radio station, but when I saw these two girls fighting in the station, the unprofessionalism scared me. So I was like, I'm not doing black radio anymore. And I started hearing that, I could get paid a little bit more money if I went elsewhere, right? So I go to Chicago to work at an AC station for 2 years. Then I left there and went to a pop station, CHR type station in Philadelphia for 3 years. WIOQ, Q102. I'm sure you know because you were in Philly, right?
Yeah, my sister lives in Philly. I know that station. Yep.
Q102. I worked there for 3 years, was the music director there, everything. Wow. And then Russ Parr called me one day and radio, Mr. Radio King too. You're one of those like big time. You worked with him.
So it's crazy. I went from a small market to him being my morning show now. He was a local morning show at KYS when I got there.
Oh, wow.
And then it was at a point in time before deregulation in radio and broadcast where Radio 1 started expanding, and that's where he went syndicated. We started putting them in other markets. But yeah, I work with Russ directly.
Wow. Well, Russ has been doing radio a long time, and he's one of the greats in Black radio. And so he called me up and he said, Doug Banks was looking for a co-host. And at the time, again, I'm doing afternoons, music director in Philadelphia. And he says he needs a co-host. You're interested? And I flew in to meet with Doug. I said, sure. And I flew in to meet with Doug. I auditioned for 2 days. I took off for 2 days. One of the days I didn't tell my boss, so I had to get back. Right. So anyway, I go in and I auditioned with Doug, spent the first day with him. Second day, I gave him like maybe an hour of my time. And finally, I unplugged my headphones and said, hey, I got to go. And he's like, no, wait, where are you going? I said, well, I got a job to go to. And I think you have enough to figure out if you want me or not to work with you. I said, but I got to go. I got to save that job because you haven't given me this one first. Right. And I flew out. And he said that's what did it. You know, they often say that. It's almost like when they tell people, if you're ever looking for a radio job, you don't send the longest air check. You send them just enough, right? I gave him just enough, and then he hired me, and I became the co-host on that nationally syndicated show.
Wow. You know, Russ has a good eye for talent and piecing people together. I will say that, having worked with him I was with him for 10 years. So Doug Banks. So let me tell you a story. You were based out of Chicago, right, with Doug?
No, we were based in Dallas, heard in Chicago for the afternoon show. We did New York, like I said, mornings for 6 years on WBLS. Yeah.
So my mother became a big fan of yours, listening to you on BLS. You know, she's like, oh, I love this guy, Doug Banks, and he's got a great co-host, DeDe. I'm like, well, Mom, you're supposed to be listening to Russ Parr. What, you know, that's my say. But that,
Mom, thank you.
That was before streaming, so I couldn't fault her for that. But she became a big fan of yours, and we actually met. I don't know. Well, you probably don't remember this, but I got to know Doug from afar, and then we met at a couple of conventions through Russ Parr. But you and I met for the first time in Philadelphia, All-Star Weekend. I think it was 2001.
Yeah, I remember All-Star Weekend there.
Yeah. Oh, wasn't it crazy? So me and my mom were walking into the Four Seasons, and you and Doug were there. And I knew Doug, so I started talking to him, and then he introduced me to you. My mother was standing behind me, and she got, starstruck because she loved Doug, never met him in person before. And then seeing you, she's like, oh my God, Doug and DeDe.
Was I nice to her?
Yes, you were.
Okay, I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, and she remembers that day. As a matter of fact, before we started talking, she said, tell DeDe I said hello and tell her about the time we met.
Oh, that's sweet. Can I tell you why I said that? You know what, Darryl, and I want everybody to understand something. You know, we all are human. There are times when we're on the air and it sounds like we're happy-go-lucky all day long. Every now and then I'll tell you guys, oh, I got a headache or it was bad. It's very rare. Yeah. But when people hear us do what we do on the radio, it is work. It's still what it is. You know, there are times when we're on the air and we're smiling while the mic is on, and when it's off, we may not, right? And there have been times when people may have met me and I may, you never know what the situation was, but this happened one time. That's the reason why I said that. While working with Doug's show one time in Chicago, we were doing a live show on a Friday. And on a Thursday night, they said, come to the House of Blues for a party. I get there and it's this big party and I forgot what was going on. And a girl, and I used to be very uncomfortable with people saying they liked me I just was uncomfortable. But what most don't know is that sometimes a lot of us are on the air and we're more of an introvert than you even know when you meet us in person too, right? And so this girl comes up to me, or Gary says to me, our producer, White Gary, who produces with us now, Gary says, DeDe, this woman wants to meet you. And I said, okay, hi, how are you? Good to meet you. And I'm going on, good, okay. All right, bye-bye. And somebody else says something and I moved on. She later told Gary I was rude and I didn't spend any time with her, that she had drove 2 hours to meet me and she just couldn't believe that I was as rude as I was. And I thought, well, what did I say? What did I do? And I now realized what that meant to her. And I realized I was wrong. So I try my best now to really give people time, to really, really try my best to engage and make sure that they don't walk away unhappy or feel that I was rude.
Right. So let's talk about this, because you brought up a good point. When you're in radio, we're sitting in a room by ourselves, and we may be talking to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, now millions if you're syndicated like you, right? But that's behind the mic, and before social media, we weren't visible. So unlike TV, it didn't matter what we looked like. But being by yourself in that box versus now doing public events if you're an introvert, because some of us really are. Some people in radio are really good by themselves, but around a group of people, especially large crowds, they get this phobia that comes over them, and it's really overwhelming for some people. So everybody's not cut from that same mold in terms of personality, even TV personalities to a degree.
And that's me. I swear, I'm one of those people that could really go to a party and just sit in the corner and not have to say a word. And it's funny because my husband, when we go out, when people first met him, they thought he was quiet and that I would be the loud one. But when we go out, it's normally he's the center of attention. You know what I mean? The fun guy. And I'm kind of sitting there and everybody's like, what's wrong with you? And I'm going, nothing. I'm just enjoying myself. But I guess they expect what they hear on the air, that if I'm at this party, I'm going to be the same. And it's like, no, I'm just going to sit back because I'm not working.
There's a difference between the personality that we have on radio and then if we're in real life.
Yes.
People, and some people are the same.
Yeah.
But then there are many personalities that are not, behind the mic, they're different. But when they go out in public, they like to be reserved. They don't like a whole lot of attention. And, I'm one of those people. I don't like a whole lot of attention.
Yeah, I don't.
But, you try to be cognizant of that. Is that another SAT word?
That was because cognizant is like, I'm like, really? I don't even know how to spell that.
You try to be aware of that when you're in public because you want to keep your listeners, your fans, connected with you. And you don't want to come across rude or, angry or anything like that.
Do you know what though? And I wish that was something people understood more about. Probably, I'm sure there's probably a lot of actors, actresses, or singers, whoever that will probably have the same thing. It's like they love what they do, but they have there's a sense on another side where people don't realize, and it has nothing to do with them being rude. It has nothing to do with the person. It's just who they are as people. And again, I'm probably more of an introvert than most know. I'm probably more of a nerd that people probably know. I think I am. Like, I'm a person who loves museums. People trip out on that. I love museums. I love to read. I'm a reader. I love to read. I'm a conspiracy theorist.
I hear about your theories on The Morning. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I used to love to go antiquing. I did. I have old Life magazines. I have old microphones, radios. I love to collect that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like I told somebody one time, I said, I used to be really interesting. And then I started doing morning radio and I'm too tired to go anywhere.
Yeah, that really disrupts your lifestyle a bit.
It does. Yeah. But yeah, I love all that kind of stuff. Like I said, I'm probably more of a nerd than most know.
So I'll bring my mother back into this. She was listening to you and Doug, 9/11.
Yeah.
And she heard you all say that a plane flew into one of the World Trade Centers. She called me immediately. Now I'm down in DC and I'm running Russ's show, right? And she's like, Darryl, a plane flew into the building. And I was in the production room. I run upstairs, turn on the TV. And then as I'm turning on the TV, no more than a minute after that, the second plane flew in. Now, from my window, I had a corner window that overlooked toward DC. We're in Maryland.
Oh, wow.
Once the plane hit the Pentagon, I could see the smoke billowing up yonder in DC. But you were the one that first caused my mother to tell us about it. And that's before, we didn't have internet back then. And, social media wasn't like, news didn't travel as fast as it does right now. But yeah, she got that initial report from you guys, called me, and then that's how we got. And that day really changed. In terms of radio, were you guys on longer that day?
Yeah, we were. It used to give me chills, to be honest with you. I'm going to be honest. So when we were based in Dallas again, doing radio and because technology was starting to evolve, of course, and so we were on the air there, and Gary runs down and we turn on TV. He's turned TV on and we're looking and we see this. And I said, that looks like an attack. I said, that is not just a random. I remember saying this, and we're live on the air, and we ended up going on and interrupting the song, everything, because we wanted to make sure, one of the things about doing syndicated radio, when you're not in the city, you're super hypersensitive to what's going on in the area. Yep. And so because we weren't there, we needed to make sure that, hey, we are here, we're paying attention, we know what's going on. But I remember us saying that, and we just couldn't believe it. And we see the second one go in. But what happened was there were a lot of radio station towers were on those buildings, and ours wasn't. And we were based with ABC radio network. And so we were one of the only stations the only radio stations that still had a signal.
In New York.
And so we stayed on all the way until noon, Doug and I remember we stayed on until noon that day, and then ended up putting on the ABC feed for everybody in the city of New York, since they didn't have, none of the stations had any signal. Yeah. But I just remember that very well, because, you know, when you think about where you are in history, and I just remember being on the air watching that. Yeah.
I remember because we had Russ stay on actually until 2:00 that day.
Dang.
And we stopped the music. And, you know, from that point on, I think it was shortly after, it was in the 8:00 hour. From that point on, it was just, you know, reporting about the updates of everything that was going on. And then it, you know, went from just being in New York to DC and then out in Pennsylvania. So, you know, one of my questions was going to be, what was your worst day in radio?
My worst day in radio. My worst day. When Doug died. Yeah.
I remember hearing that news, and I was so yeah.
It still gets me. Can you see? It gets me because I'm thankful. I'm gonna end up crying, and I have a dog. And I have no kids who can go get me a napkin. But the reason why is because everything and every ounce of success I have today, I credit him. I learned how to do radio because of him. Morning radio. Yeah. So
definitely a great personality. And obviously I didn't know him like you did. I knew him from afar and got to know him through Russ quite a bit. But, you know,
he was funny as ever. Let me tell you something funny as ever. And things that go on now, I wish I could call him and we could laugh about it or whatever. There were times when I first started doing radio and they gave the show to me, and people didn't know I was actually, Doug had moved to afternoons. So that's how I was able to get on K104, to start doing morning radio in Dallas. And what happened was I started doing it and they gave the show to me. And I would call him for advice because I was like, I don't know, like, what do I do when this happens? And what happens when I don't feel my team trusts me? Or what do I, you know what I mean? And so he would give me a lot of advice and everything. But I will say this is the one thing I was going to talk about with radio. It's interesting because isn't it interesting when something like 9/11 happens and something like the death of Michael Jackson and COVID, you know, moments that people are going to remember for the rest of their lives. We as DJs turn into something different too. Have you ever noticed we have to turn into an authority, news anchor? You get what I'm saying? Like being immersed in it because you realize that people are listening to us and they want accurate and as much accurate information as they can get.
People rely on us a lot more in those situations and those scenarios than ever before.
Yeah. So that's what I do like about the radio part. I do like that I'm able to do that for people.
Yeah. I left radio for a hot second. I was still in DC and I moved back to Connecticut to be closer to my mom, which is how I got back onto YBC, which ironically, this is the station that I was on in high school, DeDe. Crazy how things come full circle.
Wow.
It's crazy. So when I first came back, I had just started doing part-time, just filling, helping out.
Right.
And Aretha Franklin passed.
Yeah. Oh.
Right as I got the news, I was doing middays, right as I was about to go on the air. And first of all, I got emotional because it's crazy. Artists that, you know, we have the pleasure of maybe having met through our career a couple of times, but we feel like we know them and we don't, even though we don't know them. They're just so much a part of our lives. Music plays so much into our lives, and certain artists that have longevity, you know, really become like family. Like Michael Jackson, I'll never forget the day that he passed away. Hearing that news, and you know, Prince, the same thing.
Yes,
it's crazy that you know those types of artists can impact us. But then if you're on radio when it happens, you know, one, you have to keep your composure and then be able to deliver the information and be that person that other people can now lean on.
Yeah, I agree because I was a huge Prince fan. Of course, Michael Jackson. Everybody, you just couldn't. It was like, wow. I mean, Kobe Bryant. It was hard. That was hard. It was hard because when you're hearing these tributes and you're on the air. Yeah, trust me. It's a thing that you want to share also and be a part of with the listeners. And I will say this: radio can make you. It's almost. I'm gonna use the word, and I didn't even finish college. It's cathartic, I guess, is the word to use, right? Because you like that one. Did I do good?
That was good. That was good.
Okay. Because here's the thing: when we get a chance to. it almost helps us. I always tell people it's like almost like radio is therapy for us too, though, because we're able to work through some things and hear some things. We can hear people talk about, like when we have questions some days, I hear certain things that they're saying, either that I've gone through, know somebody who's gone through, have heard it before on the radio. And now I can kind of help them out a little bit with my opinion of something or whatever, even though, well, now I like to have fun with it. I joke a lot. But you get what I'm saying is that, and so when you're going through something like that, the death of a famous person, all of us get to grieve together, and it actually helps. It actually helps all of us together, to me. And that's the one beautiful thing I will say I love about radio, by the way. Okay.
And people look at you the same way too, or
What do you
we
mean?
as personalities, because you know, you're on every day. People wake up to you every morning, so you become part of a culture. You become part of that chapter in life that they're, you know, listening to you in.
Yeah.
I can remember being a kid listening to New York radio, Frankie Crocker, you know, it's like, you know, they become part of your family from a distance, just like, you know, superstars become, or super celebrities, I should say.
Yep.
But yeah, what was your best day in radio?
Best day. I don't know. They're all good days. I hate to sound like that, but I have, you know, I'm not starstruck about people, like, so I can't say that. I can't say there was somebody who came in and I was like, my best day in radio was when I got a chance to go to the White House. Got a chance to meet Barack Obama. Best day in radio.
Nice.
Yeah. It was because of radio I got to go. So I was like, yeah, that would be it. Yeah. And it's so funny because when I got to go, I remember filling in for Doug, who I worked with, right? The host of the show, he couldn't go. And so he sent me, and I'm sitting there in a room with him, and it was a bunch of other, you know, syndicated personalities, and maybe 12 of us in the room. And as we're sitting there, he walks in, and as he sits down, I'm looking at his hands, I'm looking at his hair, I'm looking at his haircut, I'm looking at his suit, and I'm trying to write down on a piece of paper because I know that my mom's going to ask me, what do his hands look like? What do his nails look like? Really? What about his shoes? I knew it was going to be every detail. So I'm writing down, I'm supposed to be paying attention to the man, but I couldn't. I was too busy looking at his haircut, behind his ear, his, you know, like all of that. Yeah. Greatest day.
Wow. So let's ask some personal questions.
Okay.
What's your favorite season?
Summer.
Why?
I love the sun. The sun is my favorite.
When's your birthday?
January 14th. I'm a Capricorn.
Okay. So you're a winter baby.
Yeah,
I'm a Leo. I'm a Leo like Jade.
Oh God, you guys are the king of the jungles. You guys have a lot of bravado. Oh my gosh. Oh no. Okay.
Lion and lionesses. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I love summer because I like the sun. The sun is, I feed off of it. I like the energy. It gives me energy. Yeah.
I'm a warm weather baby too. I love the summer. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I hate the cold, but you know, I grew up in the cold, so I'm used to it. And I went to college in Pittsburgh. So,
wow.
I've been exposed to cold on a lot of different fronts.
Are you did you pledge when you were in college?
No, I did not. I almost did.
How come?
Grades and money.
Okay. And what did you?
Had I pledged, I would have pledged Q.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, wow. Darryl, we're finding something out different. I'm thinking accountant, you would have been like an alpha, but you said a Q.
Look, I was not the traditional accountant. Trust. I broke the mold when it came to traditional. I did not wear the pocket squares or the ties. I was an accountant with personality. Now, mind you, I DJ. I had an alter ego. So when I was working for CPA firms in DC on the weekends, I DJ clubs. So I always had a passion for music. So DJing in high school is what got me involved in radio, and that's always been part of my lifestyle. So, yeah. Why
didn't you pursue it from high school? Did your mom or somebody say there's no money in it?
I just never thought about it as a career.
Wow.
Nobody, because at that point, YBC was a college station. So it wasn't really one of those like a professional station. And I wasn't exposed to anybody, I didn't have a mentor or anybody that, taught me or could show me the path to making a full career out of it.
Right. Okay.
Until I got to DC, and then I figured out, dang, I should have stuck with it. Yeah. But, being in the right place at the right time, funny how, God makes things work out for you. So
I know, isn't it? Okay. What else do you want to, okay. I'm a Capricorn. I love the summer. Okay. Favorite season. What else?
Favorite color?
Orange.
Favorite food?
Orange. It used to be a fried pork chop when I was a kid. Like for real. Like my mom would say, what do you want for your birthday? And I would be like 8 years old. So I'm like, can I have a fried pork chop and a piece of bread? Now, my favorite food is you give me some pizza or a taco and I'm good. My husband's tired of pizza. We eat pizza like during the whole COVID, the quarantine, man. It would be pizza every day.
So you have a sister that lives here in Connecticut, right?
Yes. Well, now she's no longer there. Well, she left her radio station. She was doing radio as well in New London.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you been to Connecticut?
Yeah, I lived in Connecticut myself for about a year.
Oh, you missed that part.
Well, I was 19. I got kicked out. Remember when I told you I couldn't go back to the college, the Texas Women's University after that one semester? And it was a good, strong semester. I always tell people it was a strong semester that one. Yeah. And when that happened, I was like, well, before I left that radio station for a while. I came to Connecticut and I was living with my sister in Old Saybrook. And I worked at a radio station called WLIS. I was the office manager there.
Okay.
At that radio station. Right. And I lived in, like I said, for about a year. And then I went back home, and that's when I got back on the radio locally at home. And but I loved it. I loved living in Old Saybrook. Yeah.
So when COVID dies down, you got to come up because New Haven has the best pizza. You know, we've been ranked #1 in the country number of years.
Is it Pepe's Pizza?
Frank Pepe's. What you know about that?
Yeah. Okay. This is so crazy. So when I lived there, my sister took me. I used to love the clam pizza.
Yeah.
Clam pizza.
Yep.
Yeah. So and then my sister, my sister just got here. And she didn't want to go back. This is so interesting. She just didn't want to go back to her job, and they offered it back. She was like, no. Yeah. So anyway, she got here yesterday. And so the weekend before last, she was there. She said she had to get some Pepe's before she left Connecticut. And she showed us, she FaceTimed. She's like, look, yep, clam pizza.
Look, when I lived in DC, I used to come home to visit. I used to buy a couple of pies and freeze them and bring them home or bring them back to DC. Yeah. And I had people from New Haven that lived in DC with me that used to take orders for it. So.
Okay. Well, I'm going to need somebody to send me some. I didn't even think about it. She should have brought some and froze some and brought me some of that clam pizza. Okay. Sorry.
Favorite movie?
Well, okay. I know you guys will be like, what? The Count of Monte Cristo. And I love Shawshank Redemption. The Count of Monte Cristo, the reason why I like The Count of Monte Cristo so much is about, a man, who stars in, the guy who starred in Passion of the Christ. The one I like is Jim Caviezel is his name. And basically he is a guy who's just as innocent and sweet and kind, good heart. And his friend sets him up and he gets thrown into jail, but he comes out and finds money. And it's all about, one of the scenes I love when he talks about, it has a very amazing message about God.
Okay.
About faith in God and who God is. And like you said, how God works.
Yeah. Is that on Netflix? I'm going to have to put that on my to-watch.
I don't know. I've watched it years ago. And anytime it comes on, our whole family gets excited. We're like, oh, Count of Monte Cristo's on. Yeah.
Favorite ice cream?
I don't eat a lot, but it would be, I don't know, butter pecan. I don't eat a lot of ice cream. Okay. I'm not a sweet eater. I like spicy stuff. Like I can eat, everybody laughs, I can eat a fresh jalapeno like it's an apple. Yeah. Really? I now have graduated from fresh jalapenos to I eat habaneros. Have
you had that? Is it the spicy chip that everybody?
That chip challenge? Yeah, I ate the whole chip. Yeah.
Really?
Really love spicy foods more than anything. I don't eat a lot of sweets.
All right. We're talking to DeDe in the morning. Favorite beverage. Let's start with the beverage, non-alcoholic.
Oh, non-alcoholic? Lemonade.
Lemonade.
Mm-hmm.
Favorite cocktail?
All of them. Hey, COVID quarantine made me realize I didn't matter. What you got in here, husband, make me a drink. It didn't matter. I don't have any type of preference, no favorite, anything. No, I like beer though. I'm a beer drinker.
Okay.
But other than that,
when you come up, we'll have to hang out. Now I see you and your husband doing the taste testing on the different wines and stuff.
Oh yeah.
On Instagram. Yeah.
That's turned into something bigger than I thought. And I keep telling everybody, we're getting ready to switch it up now. If anybody has a product, an African-American, any type of product they want us to test or try, we're getting ready to do that because we have a lot of people saying, try this and try this. Will you do this? And so we said, we'll just open it up now and just start doing not just taste testing, but sampling Black products and showing people what they are.
Okay. Yep. Let's talk music. Back in the day, favorite R&B male artist?
I loved Prince.
Okay.
I love Prince. I was a huge fan of LA and Babyface Productions. Mm-hmm. Any type of song, any song that they produced, I was like, wow. Truthfully, R. Kelly to me was, when you hear a singer, man, when it comes to a male R&B singer, he really is I don't care what nobody said. He was the king of R&B.
He's a musical genius aside from what he did. musically, a genius.
Yeah.
And it's sad that he went through what he did because nobody's playing his music anymore.
You know, I had a conversation with somebody about that, and I agree. I hate what happened to him and what he was doing. I feel like though he got by with it, and we went backwards, and we went and did whatever. Okay, as somebody once said, "Then you better take who is it who was messing with his? Who's the one who cut his ear off? Is it Van Gogh? Which one cut their ear off?
Yeah, I think Van Gogh.
And they said he was dealing with young girls and this and that. They said so many artists we would have to get rid of. Elvis Presley, Jerry Lee Lewis, right? Right now, T.I.'s going through something. Yeah. But what's interesting is that I remember having this and having a conversation with somebody. It's interesting that they canceled Bill Cosby. They canceled R. Kelly. We did this, right? But how come nobody canceled former President Trump? Mm-hmm. He was grabbing people by the this. He had I don't know how many sexual harassment and different lawsuits against him. People didn't look into it, but they didn't cancel him, did they?
No, and still don't.
No, they felt like it was two different things. He could do his job. That was something else. And we didn't allow ours to do their jobs. And I just find it interesting. Why didn't we cancel him?
I think certain people did, but the majority didn't, which is how he got into office. So
but the majority canceled.
Yeah.
The other two, right?
Yeah. And typically there's a color line when it comes to that.
I didn't want to go there, but thank you very much, Darryl. There you go.
Hey, let's call it ace a spade a spade.
Okay. All right.
Female artists from back in the day.
Whitney Houston.
Woo! Yeah.
Whitney, you know what? Can't nobody top that. You know, I was saying that one day on the air, and I wasn't trying to be rude about. Christina Aguilera was trying to sing that Christmas song one day and was doing too many riffs and runs to the point where she was trying to prove that she could sing. And I said, it doesn't matter how many riffs or runs you're doing. You're not going to outdo Whitney. It's not going to happen. And you're not going to be the queen of soul either. It doesn't matter. It's just, I think the one who is the contender would have to be today. She's saying the national anthem. I'm not Jennifer Hudson. She's what's her name? You know what I'm talking about. I'll bust the windows out your car. Jasmine Sullivan.
Jasmine, yeah.
That's the heir apparent to me right now. That and when it comes to R&B music, but Whitney Houston, man,
she's in a class by herself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
New school. Are you into hip hop?
Yes. Right now, you know, I do love, I got to be honest. I love Megan Thee Stallion. I love how big she is. I love that she's unapologetic about how big she is because I'm a big girl. I'm 5'10". I love Megan Thee Stallion. I do. Yeah. Let me see. Who do I like? Oh, I love Roddy Ricch.
Okay.
I love Roddy Ricch. I can recite him like, love him. Okay. Those are probably the two that I would say I like the most. I love Jhené Aiko though, but she's not hip hop like that, but she's a vibe that is like, man.
There are a lot of nice vibes right now, different, especially on the female side.
Yeah.
That I'm loving right now on the radio. Like
Jhené Aiko to me is the closest thing this generation will see to almost a Sade to me. Not saying that she sings like her or when I talk about a vibe and a person that I think she's going to be a person that can have a concert and we're going to all want to go see her because of the mood and the vibe that she gives us is so pure, sexy, is everything to me. I don't know why I love her.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So final question. Mm-hmm. If you weren't doing radio, what would you be doing right now?
Selling real estate or interior decorating. I love
interior decorating.
Yeah, I love houses. I love looking at houses. I love it. Love decorating, looking at houses, all that stuff. Love it.
Okay.
That would be it.
Do you sell real estate now as a side hustle?
I should. No, I don't. My mom was a real estate agent. She worked for a builder.
Oh, okay.
And so, yeah, when she ended up going back to school and everything. And so I started watching her and she'd do the windows and pick the colors and all this. I love it. But I should go back to school. I really should to do it. But me in school didn't do well, Darryl.
Well, you don't need school. You just need to take courses and pass.
Well, again, any type of studying, Darryl, I didn't do well. I have ADD. Honestly, my mom didn't know what it was as a kid. You know, she thought if she would spank me more, I would sit still. It didn't. So I think, honestly, I look back now and go, lady, do you know I had ADD? A lot of us in radio do. Yeah,
honestly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, DeDe, thank you so much for taking time and talking to us outside of the morning. Again, everybody loves you here in Connecticut. So I enjoy talking to you every morning. And being a part of it from a local standpoint. When
Yeah,
COVID
it's
dies
always
down,
you.
we look forward to, we're going to have something to bring you up here,
Yep.
and people can maybe not like we used to, but I say touch and feel you, but maybe see you and
Yeah.
fist bump and elbow bump.
Got my vaccine. I'm getting it tomorrow, so I'll get my vaccine and we'll be good.
Okay.
By the way, can I tell you, thank you. You guys are wonderful, especially you and Juan have been so wonderful, but you make us sound as good as we do. So we thank you, because that's the important part. You know what I mean? And so you have the harder part. I know. I appreciate you more than you know. So thank you.
It's a pleasure working and being able to use my expertise from what I used to do, just on the different side. I was behind the scenes before, and now I'm more so in front of the scenes, but having that expertise and piecing things together and having a great talent to work with in terms of a personality. You're one of the top in the country. So kudos to you. And I know you've gotten a lot of awards and accolades over the years. So
no.
Yeah.
I'm waiting.
You're winning. Look, you were just named one of the top, I read somewhere, one of the publications, industry publications, one of the top radio personalities in the country, one of the top 10, I believe, right?
Yeah, but I haven't gotten an award yet where I could walk up and accept it and go, and I thank God, I want to thank my mom. I haven't been able to do that yet.
But they don't do that for us in radio. So
I know it, right? You're like, dang it.
But just the accolade, just being mentioned in that category. So, congrats to that. And we're looking forward to a lot of more years of success here in Connecticut as well.
All right. Save me a Pepe's Pizza for real, or send me one.
Got you. I'll overnight one to you. We're talking to DeDe in the Morning. This has been The Electric Drum. I'm Darryl Huckaby on the Rhythm of the City, 94.3 WYBC.